2 weeks ago, the National Football League lost one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game, a three-time AP NFL Coach of the Year for several different teams. 2 weeks ago, the NFL lost a living legend in Chuck Knox. And tonight, we are going to dedicate this edition of Strictly Sports to the memory of Chuck Knox. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Strictly Sports. Anthony Florio here with you, joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We apologize for the late start. MF and our other panelist, Michael Bullock, had events and commitments beyond their control, but thankfully, we're up and running here. And after a delay of about an hour and 12 minutes, we're finally up and running here. We're going to just try to get this in as quickly as we can. We do have quite a bit to get into. So Chuck Knox passed away about 2 weeks ago, back on May the 12th. And he was like I said, he was a three-time Coach of the Year. He was an offensive line coach for the Jets from 63 to 66, an offensive line coach for the Detroit Lions from 67 to 72, became the head coach of Los Angeles Rams from 73 to 77, coached my Buffalo Bills from 78 to 82, Seattle Seahawks, where perhaps he had his most notable success from 83 to 91, and had a second term as the head coach of the LA Rams from 92 to 94, three-time Coach of the Year award winner, 1973 with the Rams, 1980 with the Buffalo Bills, and 1984 with the Seattle Seahawks. He was also inducted into their Ring of Honor. A regular season record of 186 and 147, a postseason record of 7 and 11, a career record of 193 and 158 combined. And that was it. So, passed away 2 weeks ago after a long battle with dementia. He was 86 years old, survived by his wife of 66 years, God bless him, Shirley, and his 4 children, Chris, Kathy, Colleen, and Chuck Jr., as well as 6 grandchildren. Did not win a Super Bowl. The closest he ever came was 3 trips to the NFC Championship game, 74 to 76 with the Rams, and then again with the Seahawks in 1983, but lost to the Raiders. And that's as close as he would ever get to the Super Bowl. He never got there. And, one of the all-time greats, and, most notably with Seattle and all those others. So, don't really want to take up too much time here. So like I said, our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends and colleagues of Chuck Knox, and he will be surely missed, 86 years old. And we thank you for the memories. We thank you for the inspiration. We thank you for Chuck Knox. And, got my Buffalo Bills back on track in the 80s and early 80s before they became that super team with Mark Levy. So, but Seattle, but it was most notably the LA Rams, his first term especially, where he had his most success, all those championship game appearances, but lost. And one of the best coaches to not win a Super Bowl. So nothing really more to say on this. So all our best to the family, and we're thinking of you. And it's already been 2 weeks, but we didn't have the show last week. We were going to do this last week, but we had to cancel. So nothing really more to say. MF, come on in. I know it's been a long night for you because you were at the RWA event. I know you'll probably recap it Tuesday night on Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But a quick thought on the memory of Chuck Knox, who we lost 2 weeks ago to dementia.
I think you pretty much said it best, Anthony. This guy was an unbelievable coach, one of the best coaches that, never to win a Super Bowl, which is a darn shame. And, what he did for the NFL and for coaching as a whole, he is well respected in the NFL community. So with his passing, it was definitely sad. Dementia is actually no joke. As a matter of fact, I believe that was Pat Summitt who also passed away because of dementia. And, it's almost like a it's like a version of old timers disease. It really affects the body, really. It ages the process on you. It makes you feel, it really takes your body away. And a lot of the times when people have dementia, I hate to say this, but their lifespan could go from 10 to 15 years, just depending on, the level and how far they are. And, and what it is, it's a memory thing. You lose your memory. You get very forgetful and everything else. And then the body just shuts down on you. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And, like I said, my thoughts and prayers are with the Knox family, and to everybody who has ever been honored or blessed to have gotten to know this great man. There's really nothing more to say. Anthony, let's just move on.
And we're going to stay in the NFL. MF, keep your mic on. You started off this next one. Matt Patricia, the new head coach of the Detroit Lions, former defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, back in 1996 was actually indicted by a grand jury on one count of aggravated sexual assault in 1996. He was 21 at the time and was charged alongside a teammate of his on Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute's football team, and neither man ever stood trial. And there are a few other specific allegations about the incident since it happened 22 years ago. The news said that the police report from the incident had been discarded, and the police chief, lieutenant, grand jury, forewoman, prosecutor, assistant prosecutor, and defense attorneys all could not remember the case. And no trial. There was no finding of guilt for either man. The case was dismissed in January of 97. And according to the report, the Lions said they were unaware of the indictment when they hired Patricia, as their background check only covered criminal convictions. But while team president Rod Wood said he was initially surprised by the news within hours, he delivered a strong statement of support for his new coach. And so, MF, I mean, why? I don't know I don't know what else there is to say. This happened 22 years ago, and yet it's just coming out now.
Yeah, and that really and I'm gonna say this. Even the Patriot fans were very annoyed with this, and they actually was on the side of Matt Patricia. They actually came out and they defended him. They said, Bill Belichick said, Matt Patricia is a stand-up man. He was a good husband, a good father. He was a great coach for us in the New England Patriot organization, and they didn't even know anything of this thing. And as a matter of fact, a lot of things is really being painted against the accuser. A lot of people saying that this might be a money grab. A lot of people are thinking that she's just trying to destroy Matt Patricia's opportunity at being a head coach in the NFL. Now that you're, a head coach, and they think that this is actually a derailment of his career, that whoever this accuser is actually literally messing with his life. And that is, that's what I'm hearing. Now, of course, they said that there was no grand jury, there was no charges, and, they said that it was an incident 22 years ago. So it kind of feels like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. And the thing is, we got to step back. We can't overreact on this, even though a lot of people have reacted, and a lot of them are definitely on the side of Matt Patricia. They are not on the side of this accuser. And so we don't know what really happened. But Matt Patricia came out, said that all these allegations are false, that what he's being accused of was way back when, and that none of this ever happened. Now, you can take it one way or another, but there was no indictment. There is no real physical evidence. It's a he said, she said thing. when it comes to something like that, you it it doesn't hold that much weight unless there's physical evidence of an actual rape. You know, if there was a medical record, a rape test, a whole bunch. You got to go certain things down the line. There's always You're always checking off things on that list that when things happen on a rape, there's you go to the hospital, the nurse will check the clothing for blood, for semen, for something that would constitute a rape, and plus they will look for DNA on top of that. But it doesn't seem like there was none of that in this case. It sounds like it was a he said, she said thing. And unfortunately, if there's no physical evidence or anything witness wise of seeing it or reporting it or something like that, then it's almost it's almost impossible for us to believe the accuser in this instant. And that's, I don't want to cast any shadows or any like doubts or anything like that, because we got to see what the letter of the law is all about, and that's really more than anything else. If this has been reopened, then we'll wait and see what the due process is all about, because remember, you're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And even in a court of public opinion, this time around, it seems like everybody is siding with Matt Patricia. So if the court of public opinion is on his side, if there's not enough on the side of in a legal court case, it sounds like a money grab. And I don't want to be that guy, but if it looks like it, if it feels like it, if it sounds like it, it is. I'm sorry, but this is one of those rare cases where I'm actually on the side of the accused than I am on the victim. Very rare that we side with the accuser than the victim. But if you weigh it, it's advantage Patricia. I'm sorry, it is. Anthony, it's all yours.
Yeah. The alleged incident went down on March the 15th of 96. The woman told police that two men burst into the upscale hotel room where she was staying and took turns violently sexually assaulting her, according to court records and a news account at the time. They were arrested, charged, and later indicted by a grand jury on one count of aggravated sexual assault, but they never stood trial and were not convicted. And we know one of them was Matt Patricia, the other was the captain of RPI's football team, Greg Dietrich. And although both men have gone on to successful careers, the relevance of even old and untried charges raises questions for the Lions at the height of the Me Too movement, which has brought new scrutiny to sexual misconduct allegations. And the indictment remained an untold part of Patricia's past during his rise in the coaching ranks, and the Lions had eluded them during the background check that only searched for criminal convictions. And team president Rod Wood initially said, "I don't know anything about this," but hours later said his review of the situation only reinforced the team's decision to hire Patricia. And he also said he was very comfortable with the process of interviewing and employing Matt. "I will tell you with 1,000% certainty that everything I've learned confirmed what I already knew about the man and would have no way changed our decision to make him our head coach." So, like MF said, absolutely right. It was a he said, she said situation. We don't know what type of problems the girl was having. We don't know why she made that allegation. And I don't know. There are no legal prohibitions against requesting or considering past criminal charges for employment in Michigan, although federal civil rights guidance discourages holding an unsubstantiated charge against an applicant. So many details are unclear. The police report was discarded. Several figures involved said they could not recall the case, not the police chief, lieutenant, grand jury, forewoman, prosecutor, assistant prosecutor, or defense attorneys. And the woman who identified Matt Patricia and Gray Dietrich to police as the perpetrators did not respond to multiple attempts to contact her over several weeks. The news has a general policy against identifying alleged victims of sexual assaults. And she ultimately concluded that she would not testify, court records show. So, I mean, there's a lot we can get into about this, but, MF pretty much said everything about it that needed to be addressed. So, I don't know. It's just a whole lot to take in, but it is what it is. So, but I think ultimately everything will work out, and they obviously still believe in Matt Patricia. So that's really all there is to say on that. So we're just gonna move on now. In an effort to save time, we have two head coaching firings in the NBA. One, no big surprise. The other, a very big surprise. The no big surprise, Stan Van Gundy was recently fired as the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, and which we all know his track record is not the best, but he's looking for employment again. He was hired back on May 14th of 2014. He had a good few years with him. He replaced interim head coach John Lawyer, and he did the only two real accomplishments he had in Detroit. February 9th of 2015, he won his 400th game as an NBA head coach when the Pistons knocked off the Atlanta Hawks. And then in 2016, they made the playoffs, but ultimately didn't do anything. And then back on May the 7th, the Pistons announced that Van Gundy was released from his duties as head coach and president of basketball operations. So, yeah, I had one good year that was 44-38 in Detroit. They lost in the first round. And the other 3 years, he missed the playoffs. And obviously, that weighs heavily on executives. So that was pretty much all there is to say on that. So, I mean, the roster, good young roster, but obviously it wasn't enough. And he had 1 year left on the 5-year, $35 million deal he signed on May 14th of 2014. And over the past 2 seasons, Tom Gores, the owner, said, our team has not progressed, and we decided that a change is necessary to regain our momentum. And the team said the search for a new coach and president of basketball operations will begin immediately. And there's really nothing more to say on that. So it looked like they were headed in the right direction, but unfortunately, not to be. And really all I can say on that. So we wish Stan the best in his future endeavors, and we'll see who the Detroit Pistons decide to go with as their new head man. Legit hope that a man who led the Orlando Magic to the NBA Finals in 2009 could have done the same thing for Detroit in the future, but obviously future is not now. So he got his walking papers, unfortunately. So we'll find out who the new head coach of the Detroit Pistons will be in the weeks to come, I am sure. And then from there, the one that really surprised all of us, Dwayne Casey, fired as head coach of the Toronto Raptors. Why? That's all I can say. I believe he was awarded, he was in the running or maybe won the Coach of the Year award. I mean, the most magical season, well, the most successful season as far as a win-loss record goes. They won a franchise record 59 games for the first time ever. They finished as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Okay, yeah, you got swept by LeBron and the Cavs in the second round. I get it. But he hasn't had a losing season. He only had 2 losing seasons. He's had a winning record each of the last 5 years, made the playoffs each of the last 5 years, went to the conference finals in 2016, and he also wins the Coach of the Year award and yet he's fired. My. Van Gundy, I can understand. But Dwayne Casey, he had to pay the price. Most successful coach in Raptors history. I mean, Masai Ujiri, the team president, and he made the decision after careful consideration. He said it was a very difficult but necessary step the franchise must take, constantly trying to grow and improve in order to get to the next level. But man, I mean, this historic season for the Raptors came after Ujiri called for a culture reset last offseason. They revamped its offense to focus on three-point shooting and better ball movement, and focused on developing the bench, which became the envy of the league. But, it is what it is. And 4 Atlantic Division titles in 5 years, 3 consecutive 50-win seasons. One of the favorites to come out of the East after winning a franchise record 59 games, including 34 at home, tied with Houston for the best in the league. And was fired 2 days after winning the Michael H. Goldberg Coach of the Year award, which is handed out by the National Basketball Coaches Association. Horrible move, bad decision, best coach the franchise ever had. And I don't know. Like I said, Van Gundy, I can understand because his track record's not as good as Casey. But Dwayne Casey, after everything he did in Toronto, especially after this magical season that they had, franchise record in wins and the whole 9 yards, wins this one of these Coach of the Year awards, and yet they can him. Really? MF, what do you make of all that? I mean, Van Gundy, I understand, but Dwayne Casey, absolutely, positively, no. Beyond trifle unnecessary.
The Dwayne Casey one is the one that kind of floored everybody. We never, ever saw that coming, but I kind of feel like maybe there was some internal fighting that we don't know about, because that's the only thing I could think of for that to happen. I was floored. I was stunned. I was floored. I was not happy. I was pissed. As no pun intended, but I was angry at the firing. I thought that was absolutely it was horrible. It was disgusting, to say the very least. I like I said, I wonder if Dwayne Casey lost the locker room. I wonder if there was some infighting between the coach and management that we don't know about, because that's the only thing I could think of that could have led to this. Because, unless they feel like, Dwayne Casey got us as far as he could get us, but he can't get us over the hump, and we think that they got to go in a different direction, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Like you said, the Stan Van Gundy, look, he had some decent success in Detroit, but not enough that would have kept his job. The expectations are really high for the Detroit Pistons now. They want to become one of those teams to move up, be that next, that mid-tier to upper echelon team, where, in Toronto's case, you're right there. You're a contender for the Eastern Conference. As a matter of fact, you had the best record in the East and got bounced in the second round of the playoffs. So I don't know. It don't make no sense for Casey to be fired. Like you said, he was named the Coach of the Year by all of the coaches in the NBA. So I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it whatsoever. To me, it was a horrible decision, deplorable decision. Nothing more to say. Anthony, I just give it to you.
Well, on a much lighter note, MF, as you keep your mic on because you're going to start off the next one, right in your wheelhouse here, UFC. The UFC, well, initially we were going to talk about the ESPN Plus, but then Derek Ferreira sent me an article saying that ESPN is really adding on to it. ESPN doubling down on UFC, the MMA league. Uh, the Disney-owned sports behemoth secured its first TV rights deal in April. I mean, sources familiar with negotiations say ESPN has struck a deal for a second portion to the package currently held by Fox Sports that will bring the total cost in the neighborhood of $300 million a year for 5 years, totaling $1.5 billion. The new deals, which cover a total of 30 fights per year, kick in early 2019. Refs from ESPN, UFC, and Fox Sports could not be reached for comment. As with their other pack, the events covered under this deal will be split between ESPN's linear channels and ESPN Plus, the new streaming service launched last month. And Fox is exiting the UFC business after spending well north of $1 billion on a new WWE deal, which we talked about on Cerebral Smack Talk this past Tuesday night, because, of course, SmackDown Live was part of that. And after nabbing a different set of TV rights from UFC last month for a 5-year deal worth $750 million, the second pact will deliver an additional 30 fights to Disney. UFC will still pay-per-view and its Fight Pass streaming service. And UFC, which was acquired by Endeavor for a hefty $4.4 billion, is not getting as much per year as it had sought for these rights. It's a reflection of declining TV ratings on Fox Sports for UFC. So I'll have more on this in a minute. So MF, I mean, you heard it. Not just ESPN Plus, but ESPN really doubling down on UFC, including those 30 fights. I mean, you are our port authority on UFC. So what do you think about it?
It's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal. It's a great situation for ESPN to get the UFC and wrestle it away from Fox. And a lot of people are going to believe that this is going to be a start of something really good. UFC has always been one of those big market companies, to say the very least. Some of their big events have always been very awesome, either on pay-per-view or anything else. But now to know that it's going to be exclusively on ESPN, and even that ESPN Plus, that's going to be a big deal. That's a big deal for their video subscription service that they got. That's definitely going to increase the value of it and make people want to see it. So I definitely think it's going to be really good in that aspect. And then, yeah, I think that with the UFC and with MMA, it's a bright light that it gets shined on to a bigger audience, because I don't think Fox Sports really provides that big of a platform or avenue like ESPN does. I think everybody should have ESPN in their basic coverage, I would think. I don't think you have to pay extra for ESPN, but if you don't, then you can do it on the ESPN app. You can get, the watch ESPN Plus now for $4.99 a month, for about $5 a month. So, I mean, there's really a great avenue now for ESPN and for the UFC. So this is a really good deal for them, because now all your favorite programs and everything else, The Ultimate Fighter, and now will probably be on ESPN. You got to believe that all the mega fight or some of the fight nights will be on ESPN. Preliminary fights will now be on ESPN and will be on ESPN Plus. But what really will make it very good is those events outside of the United States, in England, in China. They did one in Australia recently, in Brazil. Those events will now be exclusive to ESPN Plus. So instead of and it might also devalue a little bit the UFC Fight Pass as well. That might actually hurt the Fight Pass, because for ESPN, you're only paying $5 a month to watch an event, where a Fight Pass, you're paying about almost $8-9 a month. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this is definitely a big deal. This is definitely so we'll see. So Anthony, it's yours.
Well, MF, it's a reflection of declining TV ratings on Fox Sports for UFC, which has struggled to keep its momentum going despite the absence of the caliber of star fighters that propelled UFC to its peak just a few years ago. But the new deal still represents a more than doubling of what Fox paid UFC in the soon-to-lapse 7-year deal. a testament to the enduring market value of live sports. And the double dose of UFC deals comes months after ESPN brought in a new president, James Pitaro, who arrived at a precarious juncture for the Disney behemoth as subscriber declines take their toll on the division's profits. And the original headline for the article that I found this out under erroneously suggested that ESPN added 30 fights to the existing TV rights deal. In fact, 15 were added to the existing 15, which makes for a total of 30 fights covered under the deal. So I agree with MF. I mean, it's a big deal, and to have the worldwide leader now running UFC, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, especially now that Fox is going to be going to the WWE, especially with SmackDown Live. You know, like I said, we talked about that this past Tuesday night on MF's show, the Cerebral Smack Talk. So if you haven't seen it, go on over to MF's channel, BraceFan95, and you'll hear all of our thoughts on that. My thoughts, MF's thoughts, and Didi Woodson's thoughts. So there's really nothing more to say on that. So with all that being said, let's move on now to our next story. And I do believe it is the Matt Harvey situation. You remember Matt Harvey, formerly of the New York Mets, and was traded to the Cincinnati Reds. And I just want to make sure I have the correct. Yep. Yeah, Matt Harvey was traded to the Cincinnati Reds. I'm trying to get the specifics of that. So let's okay. Now, like most around baseball, the Mets had little idea if they were going to be able to trade Matt Harvey when they designated him for assignment. Considering the act manufactured urgency for teams seeking pitching help, and the Mets suspected more than a few would be tempted to take their chances with a former All-Star starter. But acquiring a usable piece, let alone at a position of utmost need, was no guarantee. And it was not until Devin Mesoraco made the short trek from the home to the visiting clubhouse at Great American Ballpark on Tuesday that the Mets' hopes became reality. The Mets dealt Harvey for Mesoraco in cash, acquiring catching help for a player they determined was not one of their 25 best. So healthy this season after missing much of the past 3 due to injuries. Well, actually, that's Mesoraco. I apologize for that. Trying to find the Harvey stuff here. So yeah, you obviously remember. All right, I'm just trying to. Yeah, Harvey is making. He'll be making $5.6 million, and to clear roster space for Mesoraco, the Mets placed third baseman Todd Frazier on the DL with a left hamstring strain, and shifted reliever Anthony Swarzak to the 60-day DL. Harvey became a tabloid regular during 6 seasons in New York, but it is what it is on that, and it was the Reds bolstering their rotation with a former All-Star, and they didn't even have to look far to find a trade partner. In less than an hour before first pitch against the Mets a couple weeks ago, the Reds agreed to trade Devin Mesoraco to the Mets for Matt Harvey, and the Reds also sent cash to offset the salaries between Mesoraco's $13.1 million and Harvey's $5.6 million. Harvey was designated for assignment on Saturday, May 5th, after refusing a minor league assignment, capping off a disappointing end to a once promising career with the Mets. He's already joined the Reds. He joined them in Los Angeles during their series with the Dodgers. He recently lost his rotation spot in New York, but Reds general manager Dick Williams says the club envisions him taking a starting role soon after he joins the team. And although Harvey last started on April 19th, he had been throwing extended bullpen sessions and is stretched out. And Williams chimed in saying, "Suffice to say that our coaches were optimistic that there were things that we could tweak. Certainly, it's not like the stuff has disappeared. There is stuff there. Velocity's been good. We really like the changeup. Maybe more of a pitch mix and approach than a big mechanical change, and that's what we're looking at." Mets had high hopes for Harvey when they drafted him 7th in 2010. Quickly ascended to the majors by 2012. He was an All-Star in 2013. Finished 4th in the NL Cy Young Award voting. He lost the season to Tommy John surgery. He posted his third consecutive season with a sub-3 ERA and helped the Mets to a World Series appearance in 2015. But of course, they were beaten in 5 games by the Kansas City Royals. But Harvey has not been the same since. He had held a 4.86 ERA over 92 and two-thirds innings in 2016 and a 6.70 ERA over 92 and two-thirds innings in 2017 after facing various maladies, including thoracic outlet syndrome. And this season, in over 27 innings, he had an ERA of 7. And he will represent a reclamation project for the rebuilding Cincinnati Reds, whose young rotation has had its fair share of struggles. Their 5.58 rotation ERA ranked second to last in baseball entering Tuesday. Well, entering a couple weeks ago, while their pitching staff as a whole, 5.26, was dead last. So, yeah, what a shame. I mean, he had such high hopes in New York. He had that great year in 2013, made the All-Star team, finished in the top 4 for Cy Young voting, did not pick in 2014 because of Tommy John. It was 2015, had that magical season with the Mets when they went to the World Series, but lost to Kansas City. And he has not been the same. Like I said, I mean, a 6.70 ERA. He had a 4.86 ERA, a 4.86 ERA in 2016, a 6.70 ERA in last year, and an ERA of 7. Oof, that's not good. So there's really, I don't know what else there is to say except, wish Matt Harvey all the best. And I know he's going through some things right now, and now he's playing for one of the worst teams in baseball, an absolute dud team in the Cincinnati Reds. So hopefully he can, get going and get back to that dominant pitcher that he once was. So wish him all the best, and as well as Devin Masaraco in New York. So really nothing more to say except MF. I mean, this is one of those cases that we always like to talk about. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Had some great years in New York, but the last few years, talk about hard times, man.
Yeah, it's been hard times, injuries, bad play, and it came to a point where the spotlight was just too much for Matt Harvey, especially playing in New York. I mean, the media is always scrutinizing him, the whole 9 yards. Maybe a change of pace, going from a lower tier market like Cincinnati is actually a better spot for him. You would hope, that he'll rebound, turn it around, and have a better season. You would hope. So I wish him nothing but the best, and nothing more to say. So anything, let's move on.
And now, MF, we're going to get into something that we're going to have a lot of fun with here. The Stanley Cup Finals. Matchup is set. It's a matchup that no matter who wins, that team is going to come out of it with their first ever Stanley Cup. We got the Eastern Conference champion, Washington Capitals, squaring off against the Western Conference champion, the first year Vegas Golden Knights. It all starts this Monday night, 8 Eastern, on NBC from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The Golden Knights will have the home ice advantage. They had 109 points in the regular season. The Capitals had 105. So it's only fitting that we started off with the man who I consider the Gary Thorne to my Bill Clement and the Doc Emmerich to my Eddie Olczyk. Good old MF, Michael Fletcher. I mean, just like I was with the Western Final with Vegas and Winnipeg. I don't know. I can't remember. I think it's been not since our Rangers were in the finals back in 2014 that I've been honestly excited about a Stanley Cup final. I mean, either one team is going to win it in their first year of existence, or the Washington Capitals will finally get that elusive monkey off their back. Something's got to give.
Yeah, something we'll have to give. It's the most remarkable story going into a Stanley Cup final, and whoever would have thought going into this that the Vegas Golden Knights, a young upstart team that basically wasn't even born a year ago, is now in the ultimate pinnacle, the ultimate showdown, 4 wins away from winning the hardest trophy in all of major sports. And with the Washington Capitals, like you said, Anthony, it's been always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. And now they finally made it. They They exercised the demons by beating the Pittsburgh Penguins in the playoffs in round number 2. Then on the cherry on top of outlasting a really good Tampa Bay Lightning team many people thought was probably going to win the Stanley Cup earlier in the year. And now here they are in the finals for the first time since 1998. So it is a remarkable story for either team. And the other thing going into this, screw the superstition. Both teams touched their respective trophies. Massaso touched it and took the trophy away for the Western Conference champions. The Vegas Golden Knights taking the Clarence Campbell Bowl, and actually under the advisement or the assistment of Marc-Andre Fleury, because of him seeing what after him seeing his partner in crime of all those years, Sidney Crosby, take the Prince of Wales trophy 3 times, and thus they ended up winning the Stanley Cup those 3 times that Crosby touched it. And then, of course, everybody remembers literally Alexander Ovechkin basically telling Pierre Maguire, watch this. And sure enough, he grabbed the Prince of Wales trophy. Not only grabbed the trophy, this is something you did not know, Anthony. I don't know if you know this, but Alexander Ovechkin took the trophy home. It's in his house right now in D.C. That is unheard of in Stanley Cup playoff. It's one thing where, okay, you've seen players, they don't even touch the trophy. They avoid it like the bubonic plague. And then there's other times where I remember in '94 when the Rangers won the Prince of Wales trophy. There was a rule back in the day that you just hoisted the trophy. You didn't skate with it. You just lifted it up, acknowledged to the fans, and then you just put the trophy back down on the table, and that's it. You're done. No, there'll be no further anything. Nowadays, this was the Brandon Shanahan rule from the Detroit Red Wings that was started in 1997, where basically no player touches the trophy. There's like a superstition, kind of a weird thing, and some players have touched it. Some players has not gone for it. They're like, no, we're cool, we're happy, but no, we're gonna leave it as is. This is the first time I ever remember that both teams, respectively, took the trophy to their respective locker rooms and to celebrate and whatnot. And we're going to have to wait and see. But to break this down, it is, 2 really good offensives, 2 really good power teams, really good on power plays. They are really skillful, disciplined, the whole 9 yards. And it's going to be a rough series. And then on top of that, then you got to talk about the goalies, and you got Marc-Andre Fleury, who's right now, I think, is the consummate trophy winner for the Vegas Golden Knights going into the final. And then you got Brandon Holtby, where many people thought that, if you would have told me about a few months ago that Holtby was going to have this great run in the Stanley Cup final, I would have told you no way, no how, because Holtby was not even there was a point where Holtby was benched. He was not that good at a point. So this is going to be a compelling series. This is a hard-fought series. Okay. Honestly, I got to take my distaste or my dislike for Washington out of the picture here, and I got to be very professional about this Cup final, because obviously if you would have told me right away, I would have said, no doubt in my mind, Vegas Golden Knights wins the Cup and they end the Cinderella story. I think this might be the year Washington takes it all, because of the fact that I love TJ Oshie, Backstrom, Ovechkin's been playing out of his mind lately. I think he wants to solidify himself as the guy, the man of the NHL. You know, there's always that debate about Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And there was always that stigma about Ovechkin is that, yeah, you're great, but you've never won the big one. You never won the Stanley Cup. You've never, you never even gotten out of the Eastern Conference Final. So there was always that you were always one and done, second round, but you never got to the pinnacle. Now you're in it. I think there's going to be a monster series from Alexander Ovechkin. I think he's going to really want to prove to the world that he is the great eight, as we like to call them. So, I mean, young, hungry team like the Vegas Golden Knights, but you're going up against a real established juggernaut like the Washington Capitals. I know this is going to be a disagreement because I know how much you love Vegas the whole way through, Anthony, and I kind of got a feeling you're going to go with Vegas here. I think the Washington Capitals will win the Stanley Cup this year. I got Washington winning it in 6. The Capitals will finally realize their dream. They will finally get the proverbial monkey off the back, and they will hoist the Stanley Cup for the first time in their franchise history. So I think the cup will finally be coming to the nation's capital when this is all said and done. Anthony, it's all yours.
Man, I don't know how to follow that. Well, the only thing I can say is with that prediction, MF, you just made the most beautiful Washington Capitals fan that I know, Britt McHenry, a very happy young lady. I mean, she loves her Caps, man, I'll tell you. But if you haven't seen her post on her social media, you'll know why. But oh boy, this is tough for me. So which occurrence is the greater harbinger of the eclipse? Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals finally winning the Stanley Cup and getting that monkey off their back, or an expansion team winning the Stanley Cup? We always knew Ovi and company had the talent. It really was just a matter of time. The Golden Knights, on the other hand, 500-1 long shots. Even their own management didn't think they could win like this for another few years. I think they said 3 years. Within 3 years, they would make the playoffs and win it and contend for a Stanley Cup in 6. They did it all in one, friends. They did it all in one. Before I give you my thoughts, I want to give you the full series schedule. Game 1, like I said, will be on Monday night at 8 on NBC. Game 2 will be Wednesday night, and that will be on the NBC Sports Network. Check your local listings for that. As will Game 3, as the series will shift to the now known Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. That will be next Saturday night, June 2nd. That will be on NBCSN. And then I believe all games after that should be on NBC for the duration. Game 4 will be on Monday, June 4th. Game 5 will be on Thursday, June 7th, which also happens to be my father's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad, for that. Game 6 would be on Sunday night, June 10th in D.C. Game 5 will be in Vegas, by the way. And then if a winner-take-all Game 7 is needed, it'll take place on Wednesday night, June 13th. So that's the series schedule in a nutshell. Now to my thoughts. First line, I got to say it's even. You look at the Golden Knights' top 3 scorers, and their only scores in double digits are all found on their top line. Jonathan Marchessault, 8 goals, 10 assists. Riley Smith, 2 goals, 14 assists. And William Karlsson, 6 goals and 7 assists. The latter being the only member of the line who wasn't gift-wrapped by Panthers GM Dale Talon. The Capitals' top 2 scorers are on their top line as well. Evgeny Kuznetsov, 11 goals and 13 assists. And Alexander Ovechkin, who has 12 goals and 10 assists. Tom Wilson, who you might remember from a fight in Game 7 against Tampa, brings physicality and some offense with 3 goals and 8 assists. And the Golden Knights' top line paced this offense for so much of the season, 92 goals among the 3. But let's not forget, Vegas has defensive prowess too. We should celebrate its success. But at the same time, I have a hard time picking against a line featuring Alexander Ovechkin, whose 13 straight seasons of pregame chicken, cream sauce, and pasta dinners have been carb loading for him for this one epic playoff run. And Kuznetsov has been nothing short of spectacular. As far as the depth goes, I got to give the advantage to the Washington Capitals. I mean, their flex scoring talent on their second line, Nicholas Backstrom is above a point per game pace. TJ Oshie, he's got 6 goals and 7 assists. You got to give the nod to the Caps. I mean, Backstrom has gotten better in every game, allowing the Caps to move Lars Eller back to the third line. And if Andre Burakovsky, the hero of Game 7 against Tampa, if he starts contributing as he did in Game 7, that tips the scales even more. And, you know, I acknowledge the Golden Knights have used their forward depth to skate 3 opponents to the ground, but I think the Capitals can match their pace. So I got to give it to them there. Defense, I got to call that even as well. I mean, the age-old debate about quantity versus quality. The Golden Knights shtick all season is that they don't have one defenseman who profiles as a shutdown number one, but they have plenty of men who are capable. And the Capitals certainly have the best top-end talent in John Carlson. And he's the Capitals leader in ice time at about 26 minutes a game, with 16 points in 19 games, 10 of them on the power play. And he's paired with Michael Kempny. Dmitry Orlov has been a puck-moving revelation for the Caps. But partner Matt Niskanen, though, has been inconsistent. Veteran Brooks Orpik, a physical presence against Tampa, is on the third pairing with Christian Djoos. And as for Vegas, their ice time leader is an old friend of the Washington Capitals, Nate Schmidt, whom they lost in the expansion draft. Typically paired with Braden McNabb, Derek England, and Shea Theodore, 7 points, they form a solid duo. And Colin Miller and Luca Spisa worked together in the conference finals against Winnipeg. So that's all there is to say on that. Goaltending, hands down, it's the Golden Knights. I mean, no disrespect to Braden Holtby, but even though he's had the postseason of his life with the 2 shutouts, making him only the 5th goalie in NHL history to blank a foe in games 6 and 7. There's no way you can put him ahead of a goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury, who right now, what is there to say about him? MF is absolutely right. I agree with you, MF. He's also my pick to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, regardless of whether the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup or not. I mean, we have had instances in the past where the Conn Smythe Trophy winner has been from the losing team. Remember John Sebastian Shigera in 2003 with the Anaheim Ducks? That magical postseason he had? The Ducks didn't win the Cup, but he still won the Conn Smythe Trophy. I mean, Ronnie Hextall is another guy. I believe back in 87 or 85, he won the Conn Smythe despite losing. And Reggie Leach for the Philadelphia Flyers. Those are other instances. But what is there to say about Marc-Andre Fleury? His otherworldly stats, listen to this, MF. A .947 save percentage and a .168 goals against average. And I think he has like 4 or 5 shutouts. He rested after playing only 46 games this season, and he's in the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd year in a row and the 5th time overall. And Braden Holtby, yeah, he shook off an early goalie controversy, but I think it was more of his coach Barry Trotz trying to light a fire under him to post solid numbers. He has a .924 save percentage, which is good, and a .204 goals against. And the Vezina Trophy winner from 2016, he enters the final after those 2 consecutive shutouts in Game 6 and 7 against Tampa. Special teams, I got to give the edge to the Washington Capitals. I mean, this is as significant an advantage as the Capitals have in this series. Their power play is extremely hard to handle, and with Ovechkin looming in his spot, that opens up the slot area for TJ Oshie, who has 5 power play goals in these playoffs. And if he doesn't pull the trigger, the Capitals can set up a double screen for John Carlson. Their power play is clicking, and their penalty kill has been honing its craft against elite talent for the last 2 rounds. I mean, but Vegas, though, they've been solid. You know, their penalty kill has been solid at 82.5% on 57 times shorthanded. Capitals are at 75.4% on 61 times shorthanded, although in fairness, they face 2 of the top 3 power plays in the entire NHL in the Pittsburgh Penguins and Tampa Bay Lightning. Health-wise, I have to give that to the Washington Capitals as well. I mean, they have everybody back and have shown they can handle significant absences, whether it's due to injury in the case of Burakovsky and Backstrom, or being suspended after injuring others in the case of Tommy Wilson. Golden Knights, they're managing an injury to energy forward William Carrier. The bottom 6 winger has not played since May 4th during the San Jose series, though he has resumed skating. Backup goalie Malcolm Subban has also been sidelined, making Maxime Lagacé the Golden Knights number 2 after welcoming Backstrom back from a 4-game absence due to a hand injury. Caps are healthy. Vegas has fared just fine without Carrier, notably in the series against a bruising team such as Winnipeg. But as long as Fleury stays healthy, the backup situation should not matter for Vegas. Legacy was one of the many goalies who admirably steadied the ship in Fleury's absence this season. Though his numbers weren't terrific, he had an 867 save percentage and a 392 goals against in 16 appearances, 4 of them starts. All of that said, Caps have everybody available. They get the nod there. Coaching-wise, I got to say even here. Barry Trotz, the coach of the Washington Capitals, 1,524 regular season games, throwing another 108 playoff games before he finally got his golden opportunity to coach in the Stanley Cup final. Vegas's Gerard Gallant, he's likely going to run away with the Jack Adams Award this season after taking a bunch of guys with "Hi, my name is" stickers and somehow molding them into a Western Conference champion. Golden Knights excelled this season because they could play freely. Guys didn't hold on to their sticks as tight. Video sessions weren't as long. James Neal said of his coach, he doesn't complicate anything. And Gallant has stayed true to form these playoffs. Series had to play a little line salad, but on brand for their season, everything has worked out swimmingly. Now, Barry Trotz, I know some people are not a big fan of him in the playoffs, and everybody thought his decision to sit Braden Holtby at the start of their first round series against Columbus was daft. But he outcoached two of the best coaches in the game today, and Mike Sullivan and John Cooper, in consecutive rounds, to the point where the latter coach was so obsessed with matchups that his best offensive players didn't see enough ice time in Game 7. But we all know why he would get the nod here. The hot lap before Game 7, as the 55-year-old coach opened practice with a wind sprint around the rink. They didn't even have to play the game after that. It was so in the bag. And it's the will of the gods. Advantage, you have to say the Capitals. I mean, the Capitals are the team of manifest destiny with enough talent and will. It was inevitable they would conquer all of the Eastern Conference and end up here. The Golden Knights, on the surface, they're a team for those of us who crave instant gratification, usually something the hockey gods frown upon. The hockey gods, for example, are never believers in high shooting percentages. And that said, the Golden Knights' ascent is a boon for the sport's visibility, and the roster is filled with players who are often overlooked, but persisted to work hard and bide their time to make it here. The hockey gods like that. So, have the hockey gods, through odd bounces and good fortune, decided that the torture is over for the Washington Capitals and Alexander Ovechkin? Or are the hockey gods mischievous, using the Vegas Golden Knights as an enduring lesson about the folly of player personnel decisions? So I feel it's both. I mean, the lesson has already been learned. So maybe Washington has the hockey gods' favor. And why else would this journey end with a series against George McPhee, general manager George McPhee, and Marc-Andre Fleury? So this is tough. I mean, my gut's telling me to go with Vegas in 7. My heart's telling me to go with the Capitals in 6. But I'll be honest. I had the Tampa Bay Lightning going all the way. But the Washington Capitals obviously had better ideas. But they obviously had something to say about that. They shut me up. Game 6 and 7 absolutely manhandled Tampa from start to finish in both games. But Vegas, there's just something about Vegas right now. 12-3 in these playoffs. I'll be honest. I want Vegas to win. What a story it would be. Their first year joining only the St. Louis Blues 50 years ago in the 1967-68 season as the only two teams to reach the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year of existence. Technically, yes, the Colorado Avalanche back in 96, when they went all the way, which gave us one of the greatest screaming Michael Fletcher moments of all time, the infamous UA Crute moment. Don't think I haven't forgotten about that after all these years, MF. You know I haven't. But when Colorado won it in 96, beating Florida, that was their first year in Denver, but they were not an expansion team. They were technically the Quebec Nordiques relocated to Denver, Colorado. And they, of course, won the first of their 2 Stanley Cups in 96. The other, of course, 2001. We'll never forget it. The greatest moment in NHL history when Raymond Bourque finally got his moment. So I'm honestly excited. It's the first time I've been excited for a Stanley Cup final, and probably since the Ranger final in 2014 against the Los Angeles Kings, even though the series didn't go our way, for me and MF, I mean, we would have loved to have celebrated a Stanley Cup. That would have been our now we can die in peace moment. But, we'll get there someday. But for right now, I got to go with my gut. I got to go with the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, would I be surprised if the Washington Capitals won it all? Absolutely not. But There's just something about Vegas right now, especially with them with the home ice and the fact that they have gone from 500-1 long shots to win it all. I didn't sell out for this team. I have bought in. I bought into this team the minute they started going on that hot streak, and I really want this team to go all the way here. They deserve it. It doesn't matter if it's at T-Mobile Arena or if it's in Capital One Arena. It doesn't matter. I'm rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm going to go with my gut. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever. Golden Knights in 7. That's all I'm going to say. I say the Vegas Golden Knights do it. They achieve their dream, become the ultimate team of destiny, and an inspiration to underdogs everywhere, including myself. So what an underdog story. You know how much I love underdog stories. So give me the Vegas Golden Knights in 7. And I say, regardless of if they win it or not, Marc-Andre Fleury will win the Conn Smythe Trophy. That's all there is to say on that. So, all right. Nothing more to say there. Let's move on to our final piece of business, the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. They're here and they're now. And good news. Thanks to the long delay, I actually had time to actually put my rankings together. So I'm actually set to go here. So with all that being said, I'm going to start with my honorable mentions, and I got to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs. Both teams 5-5 in their last 10, winners of 1 in a row. You can make an argument that they deserve to be in, but after the latest result, there's a team that is actually a first place team that should get the top billing over them, and I'm going to give them that top billing. So, and my dud, I'm sorry, MF. I got to call out your Atlanta Braves. 5-5 in their last 10, but they've lost their last 2 in a row. So they will not be in my power rankings for this week. And I think that is it. I think, and I have another dud, and that is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, 3-7 in their last 10 games. That's not going to get it done. So they're out as well. So I think I've pretty much covered all the bases there. So start off at number 10, first place team, Colorado Rockies, 27-24, 5-5 in their last 10. They've won their last game. So looking over their recent results, since our last rankings, they did lose 3 out of 4 to Milwaukee. They split a 2-game series with San Diego, split a 4-game series with San Francisco. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, but they rebounded with a win tonight over the Cincinnati Reds by a count of 5-4. 2 more games against the Reds this weekend at home. And then San Francisco comes in for 3 starting on Monday. And then after that, next weekend, they will have the Los Angeles Dodgers coming in. So great way to start off a 9-game homestand at Coors Field with a 5-4 win tonight over Cincinnati. So really nothing more to say. Number 10, the Colorado Rockies. So MF, what do you say?
Fair enough. I'll give you that. Number 10 is Colorado. I really don't think there is anything more to really go at here. So we're just going to dive in on number 9. And this is where it's going to be a lot of 6-4 teams here. So I don't see anything else at this point. I could maybe make an argument for the New York Mets, and I probably might do that. 25-22, 3 games out of the divisional lead right now. Because the only reason why I'm not going any more high, or the reason why I'm not giving them any more of just dubious, because there's another team that's higher than them, more deserving than them. Anthony, I think you know where I'm going with that now. So there's actually 2 teams that would actually be in the higher ranked, even though they got identical record. Well, identical 6-4, lost one game, which was last night's game, or yeah, it was indeed last night's game. However, based on the records and the positioning of where they are, I just can't, in good conscience, do it. So, my number 9. This is just a stab in the dark. The New York Mets. So, Florio, go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, MF. It is the New York Mets. They come in at number 9. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Going into these rankings, number 1 was an absolute no-brainer. Number 1, pure no-brainer. 2 through 10, major chore. I'm not gonna lie, major chore. But I forgot to mention about Colorado. They're 18th in WHIP. They're 22nd in ERA, 24th in runs scored, and 27th in batting average. So they got a lot of work to do. As for the Mets, 25 and 22, they're 3 games out of first in that crowded NL East. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but they lost their last game. They're 12th in WHIP, 13th in ERA, 21st in batting average, 26th in runs scored. And since our last rankings, they were 1-1 against the Philadelphia Phillies. They lost the game because of weather. They split a 2-game series with the Toronto Blue Jays, swept the Arizona Diamondbacks 3 in a row at home, but then they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Miami Marlins at home. That's embarrassing. And so far, they're 1-1 against the Milwaukee Brewers in a 4-game series. 2 more games against the Brew Crew this weekend up at Miller Park in Milwaukee. And then starting on Monday, a huge 4-game series, which includes a day-night doubleheader on Memorial Day Monday. A 4-game series with your Atlanta Braves, MF, up at SunTrust Park. So that's going to be a big deal there. Major NL East implications there. And then after that, another big 4-game series, this time against the Chicago Cubs. And that's going to be at Citi Field. So Mets in the midst of an 8-game road trip. And so far, they're 1-1 with 6 more to go. 2 more against Milwaukee, and then that big 4-gamer against Atlanta, including the day-night doubleheader on Monday. And then that 4-gamer with the Cubs starting on Thursday. So that's big right there. So Mets, they started out great, and then they went on a downward spiral, but they've gotten back on, gotten their groove back. So really nothing more to say there. So they go in at number 9 rather. Number 8, I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Phillies here. When it comes to the 6-4 teams, I look at the streaks. They lost their last game. The team that I have a smidgen ahead of them won their last game, so I got to give that the benefit of the doubt. Philadelphia Phillies 28-20, half a game behind Fletcher's Braves in the NL East. 6-4 in their last 10, lost their last game. They're second in ERA, which is very good. 9th in the WHIP, 14th in runs scored, 18th in batting average. Let me see here. Since our last rankings, they were 1-1 with the Mets. They lost that one game because of the weather on May 12th. They were supposed to have a 2-game interleague series with the Baltimore Orioles. One got rained out, but they won the other one. They split a 4-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis 2-2. They took 2 out of 3 from Fletcher's Braves this past week at home, but they lost tonight to the Toronto Blue Jays. Had they won, I probably would have put them a little higher, but going up against the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously, it's going to conjure up memories of that unforgettable 1993 World Series, especially Game 4, that wild 15-14 affair, and, of course, the epic Game 6 with the Joe Carter home run. So that was 25 years ago. So 2 more against the Blue Jays this weekend. I love interleague series. Some people may not, but I love interleague. I don't care what anybody says. And then a 4-game series with the National League champion, Los Angeles Dodgers, in Los Angeles. And then next weekend, they go up to San Francisco for a 3-game series with the Giants up in San Francisco. And this will conclude a 6-game homestand before they start this 7-game road trip in LA and San Francisco. Actually, no, it actually goes further than that. It's a 10-game road trip starting on Monday. 4 in LA, 4 in San Fran, and then they got to go to Chicago after that. So one young man you got to keep an eye on. His name is Odubel Herrera. He is a great young talent. Keep an eye on that young man. He's special. So that's a future star right there. So very high on that young man. So nothing more to say. Let me see. Where are we? Number 8. Yeah, number 8, Philadelphia Phillies. So MF, what says you?
I agree. I think the Philadelphia Phillies are in number 8. Definitely, you're absolutely right on that. Anthony. Uh, my number 7 is actually the Washington Nationals. I believe the Nationals deserve to be number 7. They're 6-4, but they did have a win, so that actually does help them in the grand scheme of things. Really, nothing else to say at that point. So, Anthony, I give it to you.
Yeah, the Washington Nationals, they come in at number 7, and yeah, 6-4 in the last 10. They won their last game. 27-22. They're 2 games behind Atlanta in the NL East. Second in WHIP, 7th in ERA, 12th in runs scored, 21st in batting average. And since our last rankings, 4-game sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They couldn't play against the Yankees because of bad weather. They lost another game against the Dodgers, but then they got swept by the Dodgers 3 in a row. But then they won 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres. That stopped the bleeding, and then they went into Miami and beat up on the Marlins tonight. So 2 more games against the Marlins in Miami this weekend, and then a 3-game interleague series with the Baltimore Orioles starting on Memorial Day Monday, and then a huge 4-game series against, you guessed it, Michael Fletcher's Atlanta Braves at SunTrust Park in Atlanta starting on Thursday night. NL East and power ranking implications, you better believe there will be. So nothing really more to say on that. So it's the Washington Nationals coming in at number 7. I think I might have to make a reprieve here. I think I might have to make an indemnity because I just caught wind of a result that that really threw me off. So I might have to make some small indemnities here, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move these teams up a spot, and I'm actually going to put I had the Oakland A's initially in there, but with this loss tonight, I'm going to have to put them on the outside looking in. I think I'm actually going to put them at number 10 and put Colorado in at number 9, and then move up the Mets to 8, the Phillies to 7, and the Nationals to 6. But don't worry, my top 5 stays the same. My top 5 is not changing. So once again, Oakland A's are going to be my 10. Colorado's going to be my 9. The Mets are going to be my 8. The Phillies go to 7. And I'm going to put the Washington Nationals as my number 6. So I'm just going to park it right there. So 5-1 stays the same. So nothing more to say here. So MF, I'm just going to give it to you here.
All right. I guess I can agree with that. I could probably see why you would do Oakland because they did actually just lose a short time ago to Arizona. Arizona, I mean, oh my God. They were one of the hottest teams in baseball. They were looking really good, and then all of a sudden they hit the skid. Prior to winning the night, they were 1-9 in the last 10 games. Losers of 7 in a row. Thank God they stopped the bleeding tonight, but good grief, what a free fall they went on. And because of that, that did actually cause a little bit of a ruckus in the ranking, as we like to call it. But I actually agree with what you just did. So with the indemnits and everything else. So that would make the Nationals number 6. And we would go into the top 5, which I believe, would it be me? Yeah, it would be me.
Yeah.
Because you started at 10 and I'm doing all the even ones. So I'm doing all the odd ones. So yeah. And number 5, let's start off with, okay, I think we can agree on this one. The New York Yankees.
Yep.
Yeah, Yankees at 5. I mean, 2-1 winners tonight over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which continues their all of a sudden free fall. They're 3-7 in the last 10 games. They did lose as this one game, but still, that's not a good spot to be in right now. This is a very tough series for them. The Yankees right now, they're one game behind the Boston Red Sox in the divisional lead, but they do hold one of the 2 wild card spots. If the season should end today, they actually would host the wild card game, and they would go up against the Seattle Mariners for the right to be in the playoffs. So definitely New York is just doing what they're doing, remaining the status quo. They're playing great baseball right now. Yeah, there's some games where they do good, other games not so much. But when you got a two-headed monster like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, that definitely puts them in really good situation. More to say, at the very least. So nothing more to say. Number 5 in the rankings is the New York Yankees. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Because of the indemnit, let me quickly go into the Oakland A's, who I have now at number 10. I originally had them in the top 5 because they had been 7-3 in their last 10, but with the loss to Zona, big time punishment. Ninth in runs scored, 13th in batting average, 14th in WHIP, and 15th in ERA. So that's the Oakland A's in a nutshell. They did lose. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Yankees, but then they won 2 out of 3 from Bullets Red Sox, and then a 4-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. But then they were really rolling. But then they lost 2 out of 3 to the Seattle Mariners, and then the loss to Arizona tonight, 7-1. 2 more against the D-backs this weekend at home, and then a 4-game series with the Tampa Bay Rays starting Monday, and then they go on the road for a 5-game road trip starting on June 1st, next Friday, when they go up against the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City. So that's Oakland in a nutshell. My number 5, I agree with MF. Yes, it is. It is my team, the New York Yankees. 1 in a row, 6-4 in the last 10, 32-15 overall record. 1 game behind Bullocks Red Sox in the AL East. Yankees lead the league in runs scored. They're 4th in batting average. They're 6th in the WHIP. They're 12th in ERA. Let's see. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Oakland A's. They had that. Unfortunately, they did not get to play the Washington Nationals because of nasty weather in the DC area. But they then took 2 out of 3 from the Kansas City Royals. But the one bad thing is they lost 2 out of 3 to the Texas Rangers up in Texas. Not good, but they rebounded very, very nicely tonight with a 2-1 win over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. 2 more against them this weekend, including the season premiere of Saturday Night Baseball on Fox. So they had 2 more of those at the stadium. And then starting on Monday, are you ready? A rematch, an ALCS rematch with the Houston Astros. 3 games starting Monday at Yankee Stadium. That is going to be hella fun. If you thought that LCS was hella fun, this is going to be just as much hella fun. And then they go on the road for a long road trip. Oh my goodness, a very long road trip. We're talking 6, 8, 10. We're looking at about an 11-game road trip here, with 4 in Baltimore, 2 in Detroit, which include a doubleheader, and then they go to Toronto for a couple, and then the Mets for the traditional Subway Series. So Astros this weekend at home. Well, it's the Angels, then the Astros, and then the Baltimore Orioles for a 4-game series at Camden Yards. So yeah, but don't worry. But MF, it's with all due respect, it's not all just about Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Don't forget about Gary Sanchez. Don't forget about Didi Gregorius, especially Didi Gregorius, the American League Player of the Month for the month of April, with his 10 homers and 30 RBI and several web gems as well. So,
Oh no, that most definitely. I mean, but the two guys who were really as the most advertised guys going in
oh, of course,
was Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, and I think we can openly say both men has lived up to the expectations. Didi has always dominated, and I'm not poo-pooing over what he's done. I mean, he is definitely a great guy. Gabby Sanchez as well, but is it like you said? It is a team effort, but the two guys that were really the mega stars that everybody was talking about was Judge and Stanton, and both men have delivered up to this point.
fair enough. The Judge has picked up right where he left off from last year. Giancarlo Stanton, after a great opening game in Toronto, he really um, he had some hard times. He was struggling, striking out a lot, but he's definitely gotten back into the groove, and hopefully he'll be that 59 home run hitter he was last year in Miami. So, and of course, there's one other young man we can't forget about, a rising star by the name of Gleyber Torres. You got to keep an eye on that young man. Nothing more to say there. So the Yankees coming in at number 5 in these rankings. Let's move on now to number 4, and it gets easier from here on in. So the next 4 here, Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners coming in at number 4, 7-3 in their last 10. They won their last game, a record of 30-20, 3 games behind Houston in the AL West. 8th in the WHIP, 9th in batting average, 13th in runs scored, 17th in ERA. And since our last rankings, the Mariners lost 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers in Detroit. Was supposed to be 4, but 1 got rained out. They won a makeup game over Minnesota in Minnesota. They went 1-1 against the Texas Rangers, and then won 3 out of 4 from the Detroit Tigers at home. Took 2 out of 3 from Oakland in Oakland, and then beat Minnesota again tonight 2-1. So 2 more games against the Twins this weekend, and then a 4-game series at home against the Texas Rangers starting Monday. And then next weekend, they host the Tampa Bay Rays in the midst of a long homestand here. This is a 10-game homestand at Safeco Field. Good start to it tonight with a win over Minnesota. 2 more against them, and then 4 against Texas, and then 3 against Tampa before they go back out on the road on June 5th when they go up against the Houston Astros. So big series there in a couple weeks. So nothing more to say. Seattle Mariners number 4. MF, how about it?
You said Seattle, right?
Yes.
I believe you did, and yes, I do agree. Seattle is number 4. I gotta say, going into it, I wasn't really too apropos about Seattle, but they've been very good. I got nothing bad to say with what they've done up to this point. So yeah, I agree. Seattle is number 4. We go into number 3, and this time we're actually going to shift gears here. Instead of going with normally we would go. I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to go with right now. Statistically, the best team in the National League right now, the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, I know, unbelievable what they've been doing right now. 32-20, 7-3 in the last 10 games, winner 1 in a row. They beat the Mets, but they have actually played really good right now. They are statistically ahead of the Atlanta Braves. Right now they are about, I want to say, 1.5 games. I mean, really more so than anything else, they have almost identical losses, 20 losses both, but they got 3 extra wins than Atlanta does. And that right now is pivotal. more than anything else. And they are about 4.5 games up on Colorado right now for the best record in the National League. So yeah, what they've been doing right now up to this point, remarkable job for me, to say the very least. And they're deserving, man. They have done a masterful job up to this point. They're 3 games up on the they're 3 games up on the Pittsburgh Pirates in the division, and there's really nothing more to say. Number 3, yeah, color me surprised on this one. It's the Brew Crew, the Milwaukee Brewers. Anthony, go.
It is Milwaukee. Milwaukee Brewers at number 3, 32-20, best record in the National League. They lead the Pittsburgh Pirates by 3 in the NL Central. They are third in team ERA. They're sixth in the WHIP, 16th in batting average, 18th in runs scored. The offense needs work, but the pitching has been amazing. Since our last power rankings, they won 3 out of 4 from the Colorado Rockies in Colorado. They won 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona. Won 2 out of 3. Took 2 out of 3 in an interleague series with the Minnesota Twins up in Minnesota. A 3-game sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And so far, 1-1 against the New York Mets in a 4-game series. 2 more against the Mets this weekend at Miller Park. And then, always fun when these two get together, the St. Louis Cardinals. Big 3-game series starting on Monday. They're off on Thursday, and then next weekend, an interleague, the first of 2 interleague series. This one will be with the Chicago White Sox next weekend up at U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago. So that all goes down next weekend. So 2 more with the Mets, 3 with St. Louis, and then 3 in Chicago for an interleague series with the White Sox. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, MF said it all. I mean, what a job this team has done. Very impressive. So, number 3, the Milwaukee Brewers, without a doubt. Number 2, if only Michael Bullock was here, he'd be a very happy man right now, because number 2, it's his team, the Boston Red Sox. 35-16. They lead the Yankees by 1 in the AL East. They actually have the best record in all of baseball right now, 35-16. They won their last game. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they lead the league in batting average. They're second in runs scored behind the Yankees. They're fourth in the WHIP, and they're 9th in team ERA. All very good across the board. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto. The only downfall, losing 2 out of 3 to the Oakland A's in Oakland. Then they won 3 out of 4 from the Baltimore Orioles. Won 2 out of 3 from the Tampa Bay Rays. And started off a great Buddy Bowl series against Fletcher's Braves. A 6-2 beatdown at Fenway tonight. 2 more against the Braves. Major implications in the power rankings, you better believe, this weekend. And then 3 more at home at Fenway against the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto comes in for a 3-gamer starting on Monday. And then starting Thursday, a huge 4-game series with the world champion Houston Astros, a rematch of their division series from last October at Minute Maid Park in Houston, including a Saturday night game of the week on Fox, and on Sunday, June 3rd, Michael Bullock's other favorite, Sunday Night Baseball. Man, that's going to be fun. That is going to be one hell of a series next weekend, and you better believe that's going to have power ranking implications aplenty, especially considering who is at number 1 in just a minute. So nothing more to say there. So they made a big move today. Hanley Ramirez, they parted ways with him because Dustin Pedroia, he's now back after his rehab stint in Pawtucket. So how is that going to play out going forward? Cutting ties with Hanley Ramirez. That's going to be very interesting going forward. So I wish Bullock was here, because he definitely could have given us some insight on that, because he is our Port Authority on the Red Sox. But since he's not here, we're just going to have to make the most of it. So, but for right now, they're number 2, Boston Red Sox. MF, I mean, they cut Hanley. They got rid of Hanley Ramirez to make room for Dustin Pedroia. Is that going to affect them going forward? I think it might. Who knows?
It could. It definitely could. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that was a shocking announcement. We all kind of were floored at when we heard the news, but yeah, could this have ramifications? Absolutely. You don't know how that will play out. Um, but we'll wait and see. Number one in the power rankings this week. This is practically going to be a unanimous vote here. The Houston Astros. Oh my God, they're back. They're looking like the world champions again. Look out. 34-18 right now, 8-2 in the last 10 games. Winners of 5 in a row, including a beatdown on the Cleveland Indians tonight, 11-2. Yikes! They went right into Progressive Field and made themselves right at home. Not good if you're an Indian fan. And not only that, but not good for the rest of the American League, or for that matter, Major League Baseball, because if Houston starts getting on a hot streak, if they start doing what they did a year or so ago, guys, uh, I think we might have back-to-back world champions. I mean, it's very possible. They're looking strong. They're looking strong. I know the Yankees and the Red Sox might take umbrage on that, but right now, man, they've been killing it lately. So, number one, without a doubt, here, the reigning, defending, undisputed Major League Baseball World Series champions, Houston Astros. Anthony, go.
It's Houston. It's the Houston Astros, number one. Absolutely spot on, MF. 34-18, 5 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10. They lead the league in team ERA, lead the league in the whip. They're third in runs scored behind the Yanks and the Sox, and they're seventh in batting average. Since our last power rankings, took 2 out of 3 from the Texas Rangers, 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, 2 out of 3 from the Cleveland Indians, swept a 2-game interleague series with the San Francisco Giants, outscored them 15-3 in those 2 games. And so far, 2 for 2 against the Cleveland Indians, and MF in those 2 games, they've outscored them 19-4. And they have 2 more against them. Who knows what they can do this weekend against the Indians at Progressive Field, formerly Jacobs Field. Enjoy beating up on the Indians, Stros, because you're going to have a murderer's row schedule coming up. Starting Monday, that huge ALCS rematch with the Yankees in New York at Yankee Stadium, 3-game series starting Monday. And then Thursday, a division series rematch against the Boston Red Sox, 4-game series in Houston. And then from there, you got a brief 2-game series with the Seattle Mariners, who have caught fire. So if you want to talk about a murderer's row schedule after Cleveland, 3 with the Yanks in New York, 4 at home against Boston, and then 2 at home against Seattle. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. We'll find out if this team truly is the reigning and defending undisputed World Series champions. That's all there is to say on that. So, without a doubt, number one, Houston Astros with a bullet. Easy number one there. 2 through 10 was a chore, but we found a way to get through it. So that's it. We're done. We want to thank you all so very much for staying up late with us. We apologize for the late start. I was ready to go, but I was waiting on MF and/or Bullock because they had commitments. Of course, MF went to the RWA Dynasty event. I'm sure we'll hear all about it Tuesday night on Cerebral Smack Talk and the Mikey's Mindset. Bullock had a family party tonight, so that's why he wasn't with us. It probably went later than expected, so hopefully we'll have him back Monday night for Raw. So shout out time. MF, take it.
All right, first off, I want to say shout out to all the great fans out there for making the shows as amazing as it is. To the super fans, you guys know who you guys are. To my friends in the junior high and high school days, you guys know who you guys are. 2184 crew. And big ups to the Renegade Wrestling Alliance, to the RWA crew. I got to hang out with a whole bunch of you guys during the show, after the show is over. This was an amazing night, to say the very least. What a show. And yes, I will get into it. A very special edition of the Mikey's Mindset. Check my Facebook right now. I actually uploaded a whole bunch of photos from tonight's show, from the Chop Shop. And That's it, guys. So until then, it's Mike Fletcher. Have a great evening. You know the routine, Huzz and Ham Hounds. I'm out. Have a good night. So long for now. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, thank you very much, MF. And yes, indeed. Um, Special shout out to all of you tremendous fans and viewers out there who not only stayed up with us tonight with the late start, but also for not just for that, but also for those of you who tune into our shows week in and week out, whether it's Ridiculously Raw, Cerebral Smack Talk, or Strictly Sports, or our pay per view special shows. We very much appreciate you. Are the best fans in the world, 100%. Special shout out to Dee Dee and Kevin Woodson and the Woodson family. Of course, Matt Ward, Jason Dixonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway, our crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Albert Anderson, and Rob Parsons, and of course, Michael Bullock, who couldn't be with us tonight because of his family party, and of course, Derek Ferrero, we can't forget him either, the man who puts it all together. And then from there, all of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, FS1, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, the whole 9 yards. Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, Lindsay McCormick, Stata Sorrell, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and former co-hosts Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. And last but not least, my wonderful church friends and family over at Oasis of Grace Ministries over on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9, Bible study. A little after 10, Sunday service. And for this weekend only, a very special Sunday night service. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be something to look forward to there. And then Wednesday night at 7, Bible study as always, and other things going on. So, yeah, that's it for my shout outs. And of course, Monday night, Ridiculously Raw, immediately following Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about Monday Night Raw, that 7-woman gauntlet match for the final Money in the Bank spot, that second chance gauntlet match. Sasha Banks, Bayley, Mickie James, Dana Brooke, all 3 members of the Riot Squad. And then, of course, the other big match, Seth Rollins defending the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship against Jinder Mahal. That all goes down Monday night. And, of course, my overall thoughts on the latest 205 Live and Impact Wrestling and the Tony's Take. And then Tuesday, Cerebral Smack Talk with MF over on Brace Fan 95. We'll run down SmackDown Live as always. And, of course, that big Mikey's Mindset where MF will give you his recap of RWA Dynasty. Can't wait to hear all about it. And then next Friday night, Strictly Sports. I don't know what's on the docket. I'm guessing we'll be previewing the NBA Finals, and we'll probably, and of course, we'll also have our newest MLB Power Rankings, and we'll see what else Derek has in store for us. We'll probably announce that sometime on Monday. So that's it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Floyer here for good old Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, Dee Dee Woodson, and Derek Ferrera. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed and safe Memorial Day weekend. And before we leave tonight, we want to acknowledge one more time at the top of the show, as we talked about the passing of the legendary Chuck Knox a couple weeks ago. And we want to wish him and his family the absolute best. And one other piece of business, today happens to be, now that we're past midnight, it also happens to be the birthday of Derek Ferrera, and we want to, from all of us here at Strictly Sports and the Wrestling Forum Family and Networks, on behalf of MF, Bullock, Dee Dee, and myself, we want to wish a very special happy birthday to our executive producer and our Imperial Grand Poobah himself, Derek Ferrera. I mean, he's the one, he had the vision, put this all together, and here we are, man, over 6 years and still going strong. I mean, man, we love what we do. Even if there are times we have to talk about hard things, whether it's deaths or scandals in sports. I mean, we love what we do, and he's the one who gave us the platform to finally live our dreams. So without him, we wouldn't be fighting for our dreams. And, you know, when you fight for your dreams will fight for you. So thank you very much, Derek Ferrera. I hope you have a blessed day. Have the most blessed of days, my friend. And, you know, long time friend of ours. You know, we wish him the absolute best, and we hope he has a blessed day. So, but now that we leave tonight, you see it, Chuck Knox, 86 years old, best our condolences to the family and the friends and the colleagues. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, for everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, be loyal. So long.